Good evening. Hope everyone's having a great Sunday afternoon. It is time for Sunday Funday, our time of games and Bible study. And glad to have you here with us. We're going to be continuing our study of the book of Proverbs today. And we're looking at one more theme. We've mentioned before that this study of Proverbs, we're kind of looking at just general themes that the book covers, because it kind of covers things throughout various places in the book. It's not as linear as some others. And so we're going to be looking at some of the themes of the book of Proverbs. And one tonight we're going to look at is that theme of a broken spirit. And I was kind of surprised when I saw this and how prevalent it was in the book of Proverbs, and how the amount of time that was spent here on that topic really let me know that it's an important topic to the Lord as well. Good afternoon, Miss Judy. Thanks for letting me know you're here. Good evening, Carol. All right, so both channels must be working, YouTube and Facebook. And good evening, Will. Good to have you as well. Excuse me. Oh, having to clear my throat, so I'll be sipping my drink a good bit tonight, probably. All right, we're going to jump right on in. And we're going to flip things around a little bit tonight. A lot of times we start off with a game or something of that nature, and then we go into the Bible study part of it. Tonight we're going to kind of flip it around. We're going to do the devotional part, the Bible study part first, and let that lead us into the games. And hopefully it'll make some sense as we get going in terms of that order. But we're going to jump right into the topic tonight, and then I'm going to test your knowledge, see how much animal knowledge you have towards the end. I'll just give you a little teaser about what we're going to do at the end. But all right. So the theme we're looking at in the book of Proverbs, we've looked at several themes so far in our study. We've looked at things from that idea of hatred and self-control. We've looked at just several different ideas and things that Proverbs teaches about what's important for us. Last time we got together for this, I think it was last week, we looked at the idea of a good name, of our reputation, and how that comes about, and the importance of it. And so this week we're going to look at a broken spirit. And when I first saw this theme in there, and someone else was kind of describing it, and it kind of really stood out to me, I thought, wow, that's really impressive. I had no idea that it spoke that much about the broken spirit, and kind of want to do something right away, but just didn't seem like the right time. But as I mentioned this morning's passage, I thought this topic from Proverbs goes perfect with the passage we looked at this morning in 1 Kings of Elijah and his broken spirit he was in, as his low moment. And so I think it goes really well. And Proverbs 15:13 to me kind of summarizes the idea. It says, "A merry heart maketh a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of the heart the spirit is broken." And just meaning that we can reach a point where broken is the best word we can come to describe how we feel. And it's that's when we look at the life of Elijah this morning, that incident he was in after the challenging the prophets of Baal and that high point, and then the queen not responding like he thought she would, her issuing a death threat to him kind of going, you know what, God, I tried and I don't know what else to do. That's what we're talking about in a broken spirit. Just that idea. And I mentioned this morning that a lot of things can cause a broken spirit. It's probably worth repeating here as well. It could be something. It could be a physical thing like depression or anxiety that causes us to feel down, to feel a weight, and so it could be something like that. It could be loss. It could be the loss of a job or a loss of a business that someone was taking. It could be a loss of a loved one. I mentioned that this morning. We've had a lot of funerals in the last month or so. A lot of people, mourning, losing people that were special to them. And those can be tough moments to go through. Those can be things that we look at and go, I don't know how I'm going to make this. And that loss of a loved one is probably the one you hear that exact phrase so many times is, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this. And that's kind of what that broken spirit is. But I mentioned it could be any of those things. It could be other things. Sometimes it's just failure. Something that you wanted to accomplish that you didn't, or something you tried and didn't succeed at. It could be any number of things that can put us here. But life has a way of breaking our spirit, of crushing us at times. And Proverbs here is talking about, the sorrow of the heart. By sorrow of the heart, the spirit is broken. It also, in Proverbs 17:22 says, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. Kind of pointing out that idea of when we get to these low points, when we get to these moments of depression and down and doubt, that it can just dry the bones up. It can affect all of life. It can affect how we feel physically, and it can affect how we view everything. And it's it's not just a simple oh, I don't feel good today. It can consume everything about the person that's going through that. And we'll come back to this verse in a moment as well in a little bit. But as we're looking at it, there's several things that it talks about when it mentions this. It says, the spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity, but a wounded spirit who can bear? And here he's talking about how, when we get sick and we face illnesses, that we can have this drive to get through it, and kind of something to push us through to get us to recovery from an illness or from an infirmity is what the word used here. But he says, but a wounded spirit who can bear? He says there's something different about a broken spirit, about being in that place that is so different from just a traditional physical ailment, that it is harder to take. That it's not, we can't just say, okay, I'm gonna push through this and I'm gonna take the right medicine and I'm gonna do this. A lot of times the task to be done can be similar, but the wounded spirit leaves us with so much less desire to fight through it, so much less. It says the spirit of man will sustain his infirmity. That drive, that inner part of us, and when that's wounded, that's what makes it such a difficult challenge. I thought that was interesting insight there. And one thing I love about these verses is it just shows that God understands our emotion. It's easy sometimes to forget that God created us, that He knows how we work inside and out. He knows how we work better than we do. And yes, it's easy when we get to these points of having a broken spirit, and being down and being challenged and not knowing if we can face what it is we're up against, to know that God knows exactly how we feel. He's not surprised. He's not taken back or shocked. He knows this is how we are. He's explaining here to in this particular case to Solomon, what it's like and the extra challenge that goes along with a broken spirit, even over maybe a physical ailment or things like that. Not that those can't be a real challenge as well. We know that all too well as well. So many people battling different physical ailments and things like that can really be a drain. And sometimes these can lend one to the other, can't they? When someone is facing illness that's repeated, illness that is a long-term chronic type thing that has to be fought over and over, that can lead to kind of a crushing of the spirit and kind of a downness there that makes it even more difficult for someone to fight through. I think about this particular verse, and you think about the times you've seen people that did have to fight off an illness or go through really harsh treatments, things like that. It's so true that the outlook of the person going through it has an impact on how they do. It's not the only thing, obviously, because certainly there are people who have gone into treatment and with an optimistic attitude and fought it, and the body responded differently or whatever. But you definitely see a difference when people are wanting to fight what's there and when people have given up. And I think that's kind of hints at what this verse is talking about. That that oftentimes with physical ailments, injuries, we have this inner drive to push through it and get it done. But once that turns into a wounded spirit, once it's more of an emotional issue, then it's such a greater challenge. A couple of characteristics that it talks about of a broken spirit. Proverbs 14 verse 10, it says, the heart knoweth his own bitterness, and a stranger doth not intermeddle with his joy. And there's a little bit wording there, I guess, and because of the way it's written and the the poetry of it. But what he's saying there is that oftentimes with the issues of the heart, with that type of an issue, people don't always understand from the outside. They're not able to see what's going on. You know, so many times if you have a broken bone or something of that nature, people see, you know, what you're going through. With a broken spirit, oftentimes people don't. And it says the heart knows his own bitterness. The individual knows what they're facing, what they're going through. But a stranger doesn't really know what to do. Someone from the outside doesn't really have any way of trying to cheer him up or trying to get involved because he doesn't understand what's going on. The broken spirit is a very personal thing in that regard, and each individual has something different because it's all about what's inside. Proverbs 14:13 says, "Even in laughter the heart is sorrowful, and the end of that mirth is heaviness." It's saying that we have a broken spirit. Oftentimes we'll still laugh. We'll still try to cover it up. We'll still try to get on through. But it says, even in laughter the heart is sorrowful. Have you ever been that way? You know, you're going through a tough time. You're going through something challenging, but you still try to laugh and do things you enjoy. It just feels different. It's difficult sometimes. And that's what these characteristics of a broken spirit are. It's those times when even things we would enjoy, things that normally would be something we would enjoy being a part of and doing and laughing at, even during those times, the sorrow just can't seem to be outweighed. And it says the end of that mirth is heaviness. Even when we finally get away and say, okay, we're through, trying to laugh at what's going on, through trying to talk to people around us. When we finally get away and left to ourselves, that the mirth just kind of gives away. Even the good times, even those moments of happiness kind of drift away, and the heaviness kind of takes over and wins. So that's kind of that characteristic of the broken heart, is that it endures and it wins out over even the happy times. Another one is Proverbs 25:20. It says, as he that taketh away a garment in cold weather, and as vinegar upon nitre, so is he that singeth songs to a heavy heart. Now, the first part of that's pretty obvious. He said, he that takes away a garment in cold weather. We can relate to that. You take somebody's jacket away and it's cold outside. You've left them in a worse situation. Vinegar upon nitre is talking about putting out the ashes, putting out the coals there, kind of dousing that. It says, so is he that singeth songs to a heavy heart. Another characteristic of that, having that broken spirit, having that heavy heart, is that sometimes even things that would normally cheer someone up won't. A song, you hear something and it's just you don't even really want to listen to that. So that's kind of what this passage is talking about. How that sometimes when we try to cheer someone up that's going through this, if we try to just come in, I'm just going to sing them a song and help them get all better. Sometimes we're making it worse. He that taketh away a garment in cold weather, you've left someone in a worse position if you take their jacket away in cold weather, right? So you put vinegar on the coals there, on the fire there. You've doused it really good. They're in a worse spot. They're not going to be able to light that back up very easily. It says, so is he that singeth songs to a heavy heart. So that's some of the characteristics of what a broken heart is. And my hope in going through some of that was to help you kind of see God describing what it's like. And so if you're one of those people that goes through these moments, and I think we all do at times, and to certain degrees, we go through periods of life that bring us to this, that we can draw some comfort in saying, you know what, God understands. Miss Judy's commenting on the YouTube side, says that Jerry tries to laugh and keep his spirit up when he's not feeling good, but still makes us laugh. So yeah, Brother Jerry's going through treatment, and oftentimes I'm sure not feeling very good at all because of the treatment. And she says that he does a good job of keeping his spirits up, and even when he's not feeling good, trying to make him laugh and all. And that when you see that in someone, that's that inner drive, trying to fight through what it is, that ailment that he's facing, he's having to have treatment for, and being pushing through that. So good to hear that, Miss Judy. Thanks for sharing that. So not only that last characteristic here was that idea of sometimes they just aren't easy to cheer up. Can't can't do something to pull them out of it. Saw a book one time that was titled "Just Snap Out of It," and that was kind of the idea of the book was, that's often how people feel when someone's going through something like this. Just kind of they want to say, just snap out of it, but you can't just snap out of it. That's the point of what it is. It's one of those things. It's not just, you can't just go in and say, okay, let me sing them a song and this will all be over. It's deeper than that. Also mention all these characteristics, and seeing how God describes it here in the book of Proverbs, because I think oftentimes in Christian circles even we diminish the need there when things are kind of unseen like this, when it's hardships, when it's a broken spirit, when it's depression, when it's someone who doesn't know if they can carry on with what they've lost. We aren't often as forgiving and loving in those situations. We kind of have that just snap out of it mentality, and I don't see that from the Bible. I don't see that from Scripture. It talks about how serious this is. It's not a weakness. It's not a lack of spirituality. It's something that the person is going through. I think this morning's passage was a perfect example of that. Elijah didn't lack spirituality. He wasn't just a cold Christian. He had walked off of a mountaintop experience there. These are things that life brings us through, and God expects us to go through them with Him and let Him be the one to take us through. A couple other verses about this. Proverbs 12:25 says, "Heaviness in the heart of a man excuse me, maketh it stoop, but a good word maketh it glad." And again, describing that when we have that heaviness in our heart, it just really affects us. It really kind of makes the whole heart stoop, kind of makes the whole heart just feel down and over. But it also hints at a good word maketh it glad, saying there are times that we can share things with other people. We can give encouragement. I mentioned, don't sing a song to someone who's in one of those states, because it's not going to help in some cases. He's saying, we have to use wisdom to know, but he's saying sometimes a good word can make it glad. That we can share things and encourage one another. And I think we'll talk some more about that, going back to relying on other people to help us out. Proverbs 15:15 says, "All the days of the afflicted are evil, but he that is of a merry heart hath a continual feast." Now, that may not sound like a passage about a broken spirit at first glance, but that word afflicted there is one that means it means that something is going on with the person, and it's an internal thing. So it's not talking about someone who's been cursed or been given some affliction or things like that, but it's someone who's going through something internal. I think that's why it goes along here with the broken spirit. It says, when someone's going through that, all their days are evil. Everything they're focused on is negative. Everything they see is tainted by the broken heart and the feelings that they have inside. And he says, "But he that is of a merry heart hath a continual feast." I mentioned this morning. I don't know if I mentioned it in both services or not. I meant to. I know I mentioned it in the on-site service today. But life can be one of those roller coaster things where sometimes everything's going well. Sometimes everything's just enjoyable, and we see the blessings all around us. We see what God's doing in our life. That's what he's talking about here. A merry heart is a continual feast. When we're at those moments, we can feel it, and it affects our outlook on everything. But when we're going through these times, when we have that inner turmoil, then all the days are evil. Everything is a negative, and that's the challenge of a broken spirit is drawing out of that and trying to refocus and saying, okay, how can I let God help me? How can I let God bring me through this? Because it is too great for me, as we mentioned this morning in the 1 Kings passage, but it's not too great for God. All right, so what are some things we can do? Proverbs mentions a couple of things here as well. And the first one is kind of an obvious one. It's rely on God. It's put our trust in Him. That's what we talked about this morning with Elijah. He had to, obviously we talked there about taking care of our physical needs. He said, "Arise and eat and get some rest." And that's what Elijah did in that case. He ate the bread and the water, drank the water that was there, went back and slept again. The angel came again, brought him some more, take care of our needs. But the ultimate end of it all was God said, I've still got a task for you. You've still got further to go. Even though you're feeling down, there are still things that I'm looking for you to do. And that's when he had to just simply say, okay, I'm giving my trust to God. I know this isn't too much for him. I know it's too much for me. It's not too much for him. And that's what Proverbs says, 16:3 says, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. I'm going to talk a little bit in a moment about some secular ideas about how to handle depression and things like that. And I just think it's interesting sometimes to see how they overlap. That's why I wanted to show some of that. And I'll talk a little bit about that there. But it's one of the things here. It says when we commit our works to the Lord, our thoughts can be established. Sometimes when I can get to focusing too much on the negative, get to focusing too much on things I don't like, the things I disagree with, the things I wish were different, it's easy to kind of get into a spiral of everything being negative. But when I can turn away and say, okay, God, I just need you to carry me through this, and I start to do whatever the next step is he gives me, I start to give my works to him, I start to obey him, then he can get my thoughts and bring them out of the area they're in. And I've seen that over and over in my life where God would take me out of a line of thinking that I was stuck in and be able to pull me out of that. Sometimes only for a while, and sometimes I drag myself back into it. But that's what he says. We need to put our trust in him. Start focusing on him. Start obeying him. Do like Elijah did this morning. Take that next step. He said, you've got a 40-day journey to Horeb, and I just gave you some food, I got you some rest, take off. And what did Elijah do? One foot in front of the other. He started doing what he knew God wanted him to do. I don't think he felt like it when he started. I have this feeling that when he first took that first step, he was probably still feeling kind of down, probably still feeling like, I don't know how this is going to work, but he was willing to obey God and say, I'm just going to do what God wants me to do. And God, we'll see as we look at the rest of that passage in 1 Kings over the next week, God was teaching him something, showing him something. Proverbs 29:25 says, the fear of man bringeth a snare, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe. And it's talking about here about how there are so many fears that can come in on us. When it says the fear of man, it doesn't mean we're afraid of someone else or afraid of what people can do. It just means the fear that comes up inside of us, all the things that we think about that can go wrong, all the things we think about that are negative or bringing us down. He says all that can bring a snare to us. But when we put our trust in the Lord, then we are safe. And so we have to sometimes just hand those things over to him and say, God, here's all the things I'm feeling. Here's all the things I'm thinking, all the things that are bothering me, the things that I don't like. Just pour it out to him. And let him have it. And let him be the one that we're putting our trust in. Proverbs 23:26 says, my son, give me thine heart, and let thine eyes observe my ways. We've talked before, I believe. I get confused on which of these studies we've done in Proverbs now because we've done so many. But I believe we talked about one that talked about the heart and how the heart can deceive us and how if we're just trying to follow our heart, then we're going to be led astray. That we need to be focusing on God. We need to give God our heart. We need to let him be the one that's taking control of that. And that's what he says here. Give me thine heart, let thine eyes observe my ways. Let him take it. Just like Elijah did this morning. Just, okay, God, you're in control, and I'm going to do what you're saying to do. Proverbs 28:26, he that trusteth in his own heart is a fool, but whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered. I love that passage. He says, whoso walketh wisely. It's the doing. It's the, okay, God, give me my next step. I don't know what it is. It might simply be God says, okay, here's a passage of Scripture I want you to start reading every day. It might be someone he wants you to go minister to. So I want you to give so-and-so a call and go see what's going on in their life and see how you can help them. It might be any number of things. But he wants to give us a task to do that helps to pull us out of that. Miss Judy says we have to do like the song says, trust and obey. Isn't that the truth? Trust and obey. There's no other way to be happy in Jesus than to trust and obey. That's true. And so that's what he's saying here. If we trust our own heart, if we believe the things that our heart will start to tell us, it says we're a fool. We're going to be fooled. We're going to be tricked. But if we walk wisely, we walk with the wisdom that God gives us, we do the things he wants us to be doing, then we shall be delivered. Notice that word delivered, meaning it's not he didn't go through it. It just means he's been brought out of it. And that's the beauty of it. I think that's the important thing is to realize that there is hope. There is deliverance. It may not come on our timetable, may not come in a hurry or in a flash, but God can bring us out of anything. What else can we do? We can change our outlook. And this is, I know, sounds kind of trite. Sounds kind of, like, oh, well, you can't just say snap out of it. Well, that's not the same thing. It's just really say, okay, I'm going to continuously take my outlook and I'm going to try to see where I can make changes. We'll talk in a moment. And when I look at the secular knowledge there, you'll see this one portrayed there as well. Proverbs 14:30 says, excuse me. It says, a sound heart is the life of the flesh, but envy the rottenness of the bones. And it's saying that when we have a sound heart, when we're in the right state of mind, when we're not in that broken spirit, we can have life, we can have energy, we can have a lot of those things we have. But when we go through those times that we do have the broken heart, or the broken spirit, we don't have that same vitality. We don't have the same zest for life. We start to lose interest in things. We start to want to shy away and be on our own. It says, but envy the rottenness of the bones. That word envy there, we always think, oh, envy is just a bad thing. I'm not being envious. But what it's saying is that idea of comparison, that idea of wishing for something else, and wishing things were different. And that's kind of what he's saying, that mindset, if that's what we're focused on, is wishing that things were different, wishing we had something else, wishing we were something else, we were somebody else, whatever the wishing is, it can be a rottenness of the bones. We have to change that outlook. Proverbs 15:30, the light of the eyes rejoices the heart, and a good report maketh the bones fat. They're saying there is that what it is inside of us that brings light, that gives us excitement, that gives us energy. Those are the things that rejoice the heart. And a good report makes the bones fat. It's saying that when we hear good things, it makes us more healthy. And the implication there is that when we hear a lot of negativity, it has the opposite effect. It has the effect of weakening the bones. And so it's just the importance here. What he's saying is the importance of positivity versus negativity, and the way we handle that in our life can have a big impact on how God delivers us during these times of having a broken spirit. Proverbs 17:22. This is one we looked at earlier, but it says, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. I mentioned the second part of that earlier in terms of just talking about what a broken spirit is and the impact it has on our whole life. That first part of the verse there is just as important, though. It says, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. I mentioned before how sometimes we go through these things, we can kind of laugh and try to put on a facade and just endure things at times. We don't really feel it on the inside, but sometimes that's what we need. We need to try to get involved in things that can cheer us up. We need to get involved in things that will give us a merry heart, that will lighten our mood. And he says that a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. That it changes our physical characteristics. That's what a medicine does, and it makes you feel better. And that's what he says that having that merry heart can do, kind of making that focus. Okay, I'm going to stop thinking about all these things that have gone wrong. I'm going to stop thinking about all these things that I wish were different, and I'm going to focus on things that can make me happy, on the blessings that I have. Also, what can we do? We can enjoy friends. Proverbs 27 verse 9 says, ointment and perfume rejoice the heart, so doth the sweetness of a man's friend by heavy counsel. He's saying the same way that when you smell something that smells really nice, when you have a nice aroma, you kind of go, ooh, I like that. It kind of gives you a good feeling inside even. He says that's the way that the sweetness of a friend can be to someone else. Just by sitting and sharing with somebody else and listening to someone else and hearing what they have to say, we can benefit from that. And God gave us friends as a way of enriching our life. The Bible also talks about how as iron sharpeneth iron, so a friend sharpeneth the countenance of his neighbor, saying that we're here to make each other better. We're here to sharpen one another, to lift one another up, and we need to do that. Now, that's the only verse in Proverbs I saw that really covers that. But if I was breaking outside of Proverbs, we would see a whole bunch of verses that talk about the importance of community. It talks about the importance of spending time with others and being around other Christians and people that have the same motives and goals that we do. Friends that can speak honesty and truth into our lives. That's what we need. And when we're at those times of a broken spirit, those are often the things we don't want to do. We shy away from people. We try to stay away from crowds, away from everyone that we can. We'd rather be left alone. The Bible's saying we've got to do the opposite of that. We've got to let the sweetness of our friends benefit us. Now, I mentioned the secular aspect of this, and there's a system called Therapeutic Lifestyle Change. This was from a book called The Depression Cure by Stephen Alardi. And I don't think he came up with it, but he was part of a group of researchers. I think it was Kansas University that came up with this, and they've been using this for years to treat people that have chronic depression. These are the 6 things he says kind of go hand in hand with making an impact to get someone out of that, to get someone to turn around from that. And I use the term therapeutic lifestyle change, so that's what the group of researchers called it instead of the book. The Depression Cure kind of sounds a little misleading, because it's like, oh, boom, you're cured. It's not quite like that. It's more of a, gradually getting out of things and seeing better days, and then, maybe, falling back a little bit, but continually getting better. And the interesting thing to me, though, with these 6 items that they say, one is exercise. One is getting active. Now, we may not look at exercise and say, okay, that's something that we enjoy doing. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. We're all different about that. But I think what it's saying in his terms of exercise, he's saying get active. And that's the same thing as we were talking about in some of these other passages where we're talking about find things that you enjoy doing. Find things that allow you to enjoy doing whatever it is you're doing, and you're going to be active as a result of that. He says omega-3 fatty acids are important. That they push using fish oils or different things like that to make sure you have plenty of omega-3s. The impact it can have on the brain is kind of their scientific aspect of that. I kind of go along with that. Kind of fits this morning we talked about what the Bible talks about. Just take care of yourself. Take care of your body. Take care of your physical needs. Anti-Rumination Strategies is another one. I tried to come up with a different way to word that, and I couldn't really. What he's talking about when he says Anti-Rumination Strategies, he's talking about how people that are going through depression, people that are going through these tough times, they have a tendency to go over and over and over in their mind all the aspects of it. And he said that it's interesting because rumination is one of the things that our mind does naturally that's a good thing. We evaluate things that happen, and we try to learn lessons from them to try to make things better in the future. But he says where it goes wrong for someone with depression is they continue to go over and over and over. And it becomes a bad thing because they focus so much on it. And part of his strategy is finding ways that when you start to ruminate, as he puts it, to kind of mull over everything that's going, you've already gone over it 1,000,000 times, but you're going over it again. He says that's when you've got to break out of it. I was thinking about those verses we looked at just a moment ago where it talked about changing our focus, changing our outlook. It's kind of the same thing. We have to watch and be observant of the times that we're letting negativity into our life and say, you know what, right now I'm gonna focus on something positive that God's done in my life, that He's doing in my life, that He wants to do in my life, and I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna break that cycle. That's exactly what he's saying in that secular book. Light exposure, he says vitamin D, you need lots of light. One of the problems we have in our modern day and age is people aren't outside in the sun enough, and to get enough vitamin D. Kind of goes back to the taking care of yourself. Then he also says social support. He talks a lot about the emphasis, the importance of being with others. And we just talked about that too in the book of Proverbs, that we need our friends. We need people to help pull us out of things. We need other Christians, other believers around us. And that's just as important. And then the last one he covers in the 6 things there is sleep hygiene. Talking about we need to get enough sleep. And I thought, isn't that interesting how that fit with what God was saying this morning to Elijah? He's saying, arise and eat and get some rest. And that's kind of what he's saying here. Obviously, with sleep, he calls it sleep hygiene because it's not just important to get sleep; it's to get the right quality of sleep. And we can go too far one way or the other and all that. But the important thing is take care of your body, take care of your needs. And I just thought it was interesting how even modern science today, the current thinking, it fits what God's been saying all along, and what God was telling Solomon, and what we see in Scripture, that God wants to be a part of bringing us out of those times. He didn't let us go into them accidentally, and oops, I didn't mean for that to happen. He wants us to go through it with Him. He's doing something in our life, and we may not know what it is yet, but He wants us to lean on Him and to do the things that we know to do, to taking care of our bodies, to taking care of our physical needs, looking for that whatever step it is He wants us to do, being obedient, and that's the important thing. Now, I looked up a list online, and I'm going to move myself over here a little bit. I looked up a list online about how to cheer someone up that is down. I thought it was kind of interesting to see what does Google say about how to cheer somebody up. And I don't remember what website it took me to, but one of the things, the first thing on the list was to send them pictures of animals. And I thought, okay, I'm going to give that a try. Now, I don't know how you guys are feeling tonight. You might already be cheered up. You might already be loving this, but I think you're going to like this anyway. I often use a lot of pictures from Unsplash. You'll notice the credits there. Unsplash is a photo site that doesn't require you to use credits to give credit when you use their photographs. So a lot of times I don't, because it may not fit the slide and all that. But since I'm going through a bunch of pictures here, I wanted to give credit where it's due. So that's why you'll see that. Miss Judy's complaining that they need to leave the clock alone. I'm with you on that one. You get more sleep if they quit messing with the clock. But I just wanted to look at a couple of animals here. As I was experimenting with it, it did cheer me up just to look at some of these, to see some of the funny faces and all. And I thought I'll start with this one, because you ever feel that way? This is my rendition of the day after daylight savings time initiated. You're awake. You're there, but you're just kind of hanging on, like, all right, yeah, I'm here. So I thought that was kind of cute. And then you get to the animals that how can you not want to smile when you see an animal laugh? Maybe he's yawning. I'm not really sure, but it looks like he's laughing. And so I just always love pictures of animals when it looks like they're laughing. And so you gotta let me know if these things cheer you up, or if you happen to see yourself in one of these. What I thought was interesting was a couple of photos. I'm like, ooh, that's me. So not this one. I haven't laughed that hard in a while. Maybe this one. Ever feel like this? I thought that was kind of cute. He doesn't look very happy there. He's just kind of like, what is my owner doing to me? This reminds me of what Christy would do to her pets, and they just kind of look around like, okay, this is what she wants me to do. Our little Chihuahua has kind of a temperament that looks like what that dog is conveying there. Just kind of a leave me alone. I want no part of your shenanigans. All right. This one I thought was interesting. That's a lemur. I'm not even sure what that look is. It's kind of all right, take your picture and get out of my face. I thought that was kind of funny. So yeah, the lemur there. Not even sure what else to say about that one, but I thought it was kind of cute. And then there's more people dressing up their animals. It's another area Christy's been guilty of in the past. This little boy doesn't seem to mind too much, does he? He's being complicit. Like, all right, get your picture. I wonder if those are actual regular glasses, and what he's seeing on the other side is messed up, or if that's just some clear lenses that somebody happened to have and tried to see how it go. But anyway. This little guy, I had to show this one. Oh yeah, Miss Judy said the other one was a sneaky look on that lemur there. That could be a sneaky look. I can see that. I had to share this one. I thought this was too cute. This little fox looks like he's having a good time, doesn't he? I mentioned how sometimes we need people around us to kind of help pull us out and help us to get into having a little bit of fun and getting out of the mindset we're in and stop thinking about some of the things that maybe are taking over our mind. He looks like he'd be good at that, doesn't he? Like he just has some fun and he's ready to pull you into it as well. A little fox there. Or maybe some days this is you. This is how I feel some days. Just kind of I can't even keep my head off the ground. So maybe that's another one of those morning of time change pictures as well. He looks like he's got plenty he needs to get done today, but just not feeling it. And then this is me when Christy catches me getting stuff out of the cookie jar. What are you talking about? I didn't take anything. I thought that was kind of a funny photo there. You gotta let me know if these would cheer you up or not. That's so yeah, he looks like he just got caught with his hand in the acorn jar. And then there's days when you realize you're supposed to be the predator, but no one else seems to care. You're supposed to be the one in charge, the one that everyone's afraid of, and they're just kind of like, I'm not too worried about you. Ever feel like that? Like even the creature I'm supposed to be searching for is just sitting right there on my nose, like you can't do anything. I thought that was a really funny picture. I don't know how in the world they get these pictures. And then there's days like this. You just want to kind of stick your head down in the water and ignore everything around. Of course, I guess he's going for fish maybe, but for me, this is like down to that ostrich head in the sand type of thing, but duck version. That's me. Just put my head underwater. Is everyone gone yet? And then, of course, who can resist the little elephant who hasn't quite grown into his ears yet? To me, those are just some of the cutest pictures. So I had to include one of those. They come out just still a pretty big animal, but compared to his mom and dad, kind of a tiny thing there, but got those big giant ears already, and thought that was kind of cute. Oh, and there was one more. I thought that was the last one. This is the last one. I mentioned a lot about getting your rest. This little fella seems to know how to do it, and he looks pretty content right there, just taking a nap. That was me this afternoon. I did get a little bit of a nap, and all right, quick little game here. Baby names. Talking about animals, when I started doing that and looking up all the little different pictures of animals, I thought, I may stay with the theme there and kind of go with an animal theme here. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about what are baby names for animals. Now, I'm giving a couple that we all know. A baby dog is called a pup. We generally call them puppies. A baby cat is called a kitten, and a baby cow is called a calf, right? So, how many of these others can you come up with in terms of what they're called? Anybody know what a baby chicken is? A baby deer or a baby dolphin? I've got some more coming up after this. So what do you think we would call a small newborn chicken, deer, or dolphin? Anybody got a guess? Hoping there's not too much lag here. As Judy said that all those pictures last was animal pictures would cheer her up. Hey, me too. I don't know, something about animal pictures that definitely cheer me up. All right, Carol says a baby chicken is a chick. Good answer. I thought I might throw people off with that one because it seemed kind of obvious, but you're right. It is a chick. Unless people want to get literal, I guess you could say an egg, but I guess that's probably not like, since it hasn't hatched yet, then I guess that's the distinction there maybe. But yeah, chick is the name for a baby chicken. Okay, Carol says fawn. That's for the deer. All right. And Will says chick, fawn, and don't know. Okay. So I'll go ahead and show you. Chick, fawn. A baby dolphin is called a pup or a calf. I thought that was interesting. So kind of like a cow or some of those larger animals there, a baby dolphin is a pup or a calf. All right, I got some more here for you. You know what these babies are called? A crocodile, a baby eagle, a baby fly, a baby frog, a baby goose, or a baby grasshopper. And anybody know what those are? And none of them are called baby, I'll tell you that. But anybody know what you call those? Give people time to be thinking here. I included the elephant picture again just because I thought that was so cute, but I included a couple other babies here that we didn't have in our other pictures we went through, but the little bear there I thought was really cute. I don't think I put bear on here. That's interesting. But anybody know what any of these are? Try to make sure I'm refreshing my screen. Will said dangerous. That's what you call a baby crocodile. It is true. I would not want to be around a baby crocodile, even if it is just a baby, because I know that where there would be a baby crocodile, there would be larger crocodiles, and I don't want to be around them. All right, no guesses coming in yet. I may have stumped everybody here. All right, Carol says a croc is scary. That's what you call it. A frog, a baby frog, terrifying. Carol does hate frogs. I forgot about that. A baby frog, terrifying. So crocodile and a frog, either one, doesn't matter. Uh, don't want to be near them, huh? All right, so not getting a lot of guesses here, so that's kind of interesting. I'll go ahead and show you the answers. A baby crocodile is called a hatchling. I had no idea of that, but that's what they're referred to as. A baby eagle is called a fledgling or an eaglet. And, well, I think I guess that's the only one we had on there for similar to that. Baby fly, it's called a maggot. You think about, I guess it depends on which stage you're looking at for a baby fly, but don't forget, that's what they start off with, is that little gross little worm. So that's what a baby fly would be. A baby frog is a tadpole or a pollywog. So I think most people nowadays use tadpole. To me, pollywog just a lot more fun to say. And I remember the Pollywally Doodle all day, something like that song that had the pollywog, I think, in it. Okay, Carol had larva for fly. Okay, good job. That's what a maggot is. It's that larva. So you were going there with that one. The baby goose is called a gosling, and a baby grasshopper is called a nymph. Remember your ninth grade science class days when you have the nymph stage for insects like that? They go through where there's a tinier version of the adult insect, and that's what a grasshopper is called. All right, so I'm getting people thinking here. This might be our last set. I don't remember. But anybody know what a baby gorilla, a baby horse, a baby kangaroo, a baby possum, a baby owl, or a baby platypus would be called? See the things you learn at Sunday Funday. now the challenge is going to be to go out and find this week a chance to use one of these words, to use it in a sentence, in a conversation. All right, any guesses? Oh, Miss Judy had crocodile as a hatchling. Okay, she knew the crocodile one. Good job there. I didn't see the comment in time. Wow. I had no idea they were called hatchlings. Hatchling just sounds like I don't know, like a scary movie or something, you know? It's the hatchlings. All right, Will says a baby kangaroo is a joey. All right. Carol says she's stumped. All right, don't know any of these, huh? Any other guesses on some of these? All right, I'm not getting a whole lot of answers. I don't think I've got a lot of lag. Okay, Miss Judy says a gorilla, baby gorilla is called an infant. Oh, good job. How did you know that? I did not know that until I started looking these up. Will says a horse is a foal or a colt. All right, we are getting some answers here. I'll wait just a moment longer then, because we're getting some answers coming in. So, all right. So everybody, yeah, the ones people are getting are really good. I'm shocked, impressed that people know these. Here's what I had. A gorilla is called an infant. I didn't know that. A horse is called a foal, or a colt is also a small name, a small horse. There was a couple other names for horses, but foal being I guess the first one, the smallest name there. Kangaroo is a joey, as Will mentioned. I threw possum in there because a baby possum is also called a joey. And the reason for that apparently is that joey is the name for a marsupial. Baby marsupial, and possum and kangaroo are both members of the marsupial family. So anytime you run across a marsupial and you see the baby, go, oh, what a cute little joey. And then an owl. I threw this one in there for Christy just because she loves owls, and I figured that would be some good trivia for her. They're called an owlet or a fledgling. The word fledgling there you saw before. I almost gave it away, and I said, nope, better not say anything. Fledgling is just another name for a young bird in general. Because there's a process that birds go through from the time they hatch till the time they get to where they can actually fly and they have their regular feathers, and that process is called fledging, I believe. And they're called a fledgling during that time that they're going through that fledging process. So that's why anytime you have a bird, some of them have other names like owlet or eaglet, but then in general they would also be called a fledgling apparently. And then a platypus, I threw this one in because I thought it was just funny. It's called a puggle. Baby platypus is a puggle, which sounds like something out of Harry Potter or something like that. But yeah, so kind of a fun word there as well. If you can find a way to work the word puggle into a conversation this week, you get bonus points. But thinking about the topic we talked about, the having a broken spirit, letting God lead us. Remember that when you think about these baby animals and how they're cared for, that's how we are. God cares for us. He cares for you. He cares about what you're going through, and He's there for you and there with you. And Psalm 34 verse 18 says, "The Lord is nigh to them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit." He says the same way that God saves us when we repent of our sin, and the same way He offers us righteousness and salvation for our repentance, He also draws near to us when we're hurting. He draws near to us when our heart, what's the word to use there, a broken heart. And so that's the God we have. That's the God we can lean into. That's the God we can let lead us. He cares about us, and He cares about you. And let Him help you this week. If I can be of any help in any way, don't hesitate to let me know. I mentioned before, rely on other people. So if I need to be that one you want to call or whatever, feel free to. Love you all. Hope you have a great week, and we will talk again next week.